Now, we all think that evaluation quality is all about, you know, linguistics and production stuff. No, it's about sales, and I'm going to prove this. And actually, the sales techniques have been around for just as long as the production stuff, probably even longer. Probably sales techniques have been longer than anything else, right? Because, and I'm talking going back in long history. I'm not talking about, here in our jobs. I'm talking about the whole history of mankind. Everybody has to sell something to everybody else, right? Even in a family, you got to sell things to other family members. You got to sell the idea to somebody to do something, right? Hey, honey, we're gonna move. We're gonna move. I gotta sell the idea. Hey, honey, we're gonna move from like the prairie here, or the wheat fields, over to where there are more mammoths, right? Okay. Um, I'm kind of joking, but you see what I mean? This goes back all mankind because people had to negotiate to do things, right? In the families to be able to go and do things. Who's going to go hunt the food and who's going to do that? Who's going to take care of the children and who's going to do that? Who's going to go, collect the berries or whatever. I'm trying to kind of I'm trying to give us out of we need to get out of this anachronism, okay? Anachronism comes in a book called Anachronism is the worst thing for a historian, and that comes from a book called Lucien Febvre, Renaissance Life in Renaissance France in 1977, 1979, Harvard University Press. Right? I actually got it on my phone, but I'm not going to pull it out here. Um, but the thing that's really important here is you it, you want to avoid thinking that things in the past were always as they are now, because they were different in the past and we need to build upon the past. So the whole thing is to kind of put ourselves back in the past and how things were done back then. And so sales and selling and selling ideas, and it's not selling money, it's selling ideas. Build, getting buy-in. It's called bidding buy-in. What are you on? Has always existed, whatever, in whatever place. And it's existed by in a family units. It's existed by going to the king. It's by going to the servants going to their lords. I mean, it's existed family meant children, in boarding schools. I mean, you can go back in history, even with all the scribes. I mean, you can think of all these examples where getting buy-in was always an important thing, right? And getting somebody to buy into your idea for you to be able to do something, right? Um, so this is really a key thing of this is sales techniques 101. Okay. And what does that mean? Sales technique 101 is every class I've taken or every conference I've gone to or sales conference or any pitch about doing sales that I've attended and I've given, they all say, every single one says that that customer loyalty, you know, loyalty, repeat business. People coming back for more. But you've already got them. You've already kind of got them hooked. They got them buying it once. You got them buying the idea once. Your family members. It's easier to get them to buy into another idea a second time and a third time and a fourth time. Or business, it's easier to get a customer to actually come back if you give them good service, right? Um, if the service and the relationships and all that is going well, um, it's easier to do that than to go and do new business. New business is going out and doing marketing, putting billboards, putting posters up, which costs a lot of money, right? It's not just money, it's effort, time, evangelization, whatever you want to call these things. There are lots of terms for this, right? And it's much harder and much more costly to actually convince a new person to actually buy into your ideas, to your products, or your services, or whatever, than to convince somebody that already is in there and liking it and continue to like it. I'm not saying loving it, I'm saying continue to like it, right? So if you continue to have good service, then it's easier to convince them to get another service and another service and you just have to convince them to actually get the new one, right? This is called upselling. Sometimes called cross-selling, but upselling services, right? Um, and once you've done this, you can get them on the same service or upselling in other services and products or what do you want to call these things. This is sales 101, okay? And the whole thing is about the quality aspect is You want to provide the quality that corresponds to their needs and not anything more. And we'll get in that. We're going to get another video here on the over engineering. I'm going to get into this one, the next one here. But I just want to say that the whole goal in doing evaluation, I'm going to bring this back to evaluating, right? We need to be careful. We need to base our evaluations not on the technical aspects and the accuracy of the words or the things. We always talk about that. That's not the way it is, folks. You want to base all your decisions on whether a user is happy or not based on the technical things that the production team is actually thinking about, or the developers, the production team are thinking about what the customer needs. That's not what you want to base the stuff on. You want to base it on the perception of the sales of it and what they're expecting from the requirements, okay? This is what the whole focus is on, customer requirements gathering, okay? And regarding customers' needs, the developers are not the people doing this, right? It's the sales and marketing people that are doing all this, right? And you might have the other teams doing this. Even surveys. I mean, when I was doing sociolinguistic surveys, you do with sociolinguistic surveys people. They're out there getting the needs, gathering the needs, and gathering the actual survey field work and survey stuff. Those are the people that know what the needs are. Then you can start doing all the other people that are going to be doing it stuff. But I've done those too, so that's why I kind of understand this. I've done a lot of these different roles, so it's just I've done them all, and I understand how they all fit together in an overall kind of thing. So what you want to do is when you're doing measurements, it's not to trust the developers to actually decide what the development, the accuracy of the stuff. It's to base it on what the user requirements are and what the expectations are that are dealt with the sales cycle. Okay, so it's going to come back to customer requirements. And yes, this has been shown in many times in user requirements gathering, and the whole thing of like a computer generated translation. This is something still today that's brought up all the time. I remember back at Caterpillar in 1995, it was all about they were happy to have any translation rather than no translation, right? Anything was better than none. It didn't matter if there were mistakes. And the key users kept saying, and the management of the fact that factories actually in France said, we want French, even if it's not great French. We want it because people will be happy to have any French, right, rather than no English, not having English. And so they had a tolerance of what they were ready to accept. But the problem is that all the linguists think that it's got to be perfect. And so we got to put all these linguistic metrics into it, which doesn't correspond with what actually people on the field are actually wanting, right? This is where there's this disconnect, total disconnect. And I've seen this in so many teams. This is not something new. This is not something like, I'm not even saying it belongs to one single company or institution. It's like everywhere. There's often a disconnect. And it's where you begin to connect with what are the salespeople and the pre-sales people, and what are the sales consultants and the people that are actually in the field, and the field workers and the customer support people that are actually dealing with the customer questions every day. Those are the people that know what the customers really are asking for. It's not the internal developers actually that are like 3 layers back and into it. They don't know unless they're out there doing it every single day, which, I've been there too. So I've been there where you're out there doing it all the time. You're doing it with the developers, we're doing it with the salespeople. You're out there actually selling with them, co-selling with them all the time. So this is really key, is to actually, what does the customer want? What does the customer expect? And who are the different customers? Who's got the coefficient and the thing? And this is books on this. There are books on this. Go read Hope is Not a Strategy. I can't remember his name. It's a really well-known book, okay? Hope is Not a Strategy. Super known book. I just can't remember the author's name. But it was, we had to read that because we're required reading, because this is just, it's a really well-known book for the sales strategy. They talk a lot about great stuff about explain the difference between the different hunter and gatherer types, and how do you do decision making, and how do you target the different people in the decision making process, and all this. Great book. Okay, Hope is Not a Strategy. It's a white cover book. I can't remember. There's different versions of it, but just look up on the internet. That's a great book because it really does nail down what you need to do to determine what is quality, right? And it all comes from the sales and buy-in techniques. It does not come from the geeky production technical stuff. That's what we think it is, but it's not. It's really what the customer wants. And there are lots of other jokes too, right? Where, you know, the whole thing of you have the customer's requirements. There are lots of jokes about this too, we have the customer requirements and what was finally ended up, and it was so different because the communication was broken down to where it didn't correspond anymore. And that's kind of the whole joke too of having the idea of Chinese whispers, where you whisper in one ear, one ear, and you finally get to the end, and then what you whispered in the ear of the one person actually completely devolved into something else when it gets around the room to the actual coming back to the original person. Um, that they call them Chinese whispers in English. We have other terms like in French. Um, in French, they call it the téléphone arabe. Okay, they call it that. Um, it's called the Arabic telephone. I mean, if you want to kind of literally translate it, but it's just the whole thing of it's about the telephone. It's whispers. Chinese whispers are talking the telephone. It goes around the whole thing. It kind of at the end, it devolves into something else that was actually expected, what was requested, right? So it's that whole concept. And the whole thing is to make sure that you got that down in the beginning and you document the needs you want, and you're trying to meet those needs, not some other thing that devolves. Okay, so that's kind of we're all fighting against that, and the important thing is to actually get it and know what you're looking for. Okay, and then we're going to get into a few other topics here as we're going along in a few more of these videos. And I hope that I hope you're liking these shorter videos that actually give a chunk of things to think about, and then and that helps you create kind of a brainstorming of how you would approach this. And I'll get down to the final videos of actually how I do it today after having done it so many different ways, and what would be my current proposal of how I do things.